I'd like to talk about assertive behaviour and, in particular, assertive communication. In uh, in the workplace, we often face situations where there's a lot of pressure. It can be quite tense. There's demands from the stakeholder. We're under scrutiny. There's deadlines to meet. So it can be a tense atmosphere, and it's important that we get our communication right and correct in those moments, so there's no misunderstandings or no issues created. In essence, there tends to be four types of communication. The first is the passive communication, those people who are actually emotionally dishonest, in that they don't actually challenge back. They're indirect, they might be too apologetic. It's not really revealing what their true thoughts are. So passive may avoid the debate and the argument, but it's actually emotionally dishonest and probably not doing us any favours, or you as an individual any favours, in the longer term. Then there's the passive aggressive people, and we've all come across those people who will self enhance at the expense of others, or drop someone in it so it deflects from something they've done. That passive aggressive approach, it's also emotionally dishonest because it's deflecting from their own involvement and their own participation in the communication. Then got the aggressive people who are the inappropriately honest end of the spectrum, too extreme in their honesty. They're very direct, they're expressive, but as a result, it often is or can lean towards being attacking or blaming or controlling. So aggressive, you know where you stand, you know what they're thinking, but it's not the right approach. So inappropriately honest. So where do we want to be? We want to be in the very end situation of, we want to be assertive, appropriately honest. So direct. And it will be self-enhancing, it will be expressive and self-confident, but it's also empathetic to the emotions and the viewpoints, and where others are coming from with their view. So we want to move into the assertive end of our communication. Easier said than done. And how do we do that? Whilst also maintaining a good rapport with our colleagues, particularly in those stressful environments. So use yes and rather than yes but, as much more positive and determined and direct approach. Yes and. Um, Also, anchor statements in shared goals. Everyone in the team is working for the overall collective good. Everyone, regardless of how they're communicating, is probably coming from a place of good intent. So anchor statements in shared goals. We're all in it together. Frame constraints as professional responsibilities and offer options, not dead ends. If you are having to challenge back and say that's not doable, offer alternatives, offer other solutions, rather than just a computer says no type response. Now, to help be assertive, there's a couple of different acronyms that can remind us to keep on track and in how we frame our responses. One is taking a PACE response. So when you're challenged or faced with a question, pause, acknowledge what's being asked, clarify that it's been understood correctly, and then escalate appropriately. And I don't mean escalate to your manager or someone else to deal with. I mean escalate by taking the appropriate action for the scenario you're faced. Another acronym to help maintain an assertive approach is BIF. Sounds like something out of the Beano comic, for those old enough to remember the Beano. But BIF is be brief, be informative, be friendly, but firm. Um, with an assertive approach, you're going to reduce conflict escalation. You're going to tackle those fear-based silences and remove misunderstandings. So, assertive approach. It is that direct piece as was shown on the previous slide. It is self-enhancing, but it's also empathetic to others. And BIF and PACE may be ways that help you to frame conversations you have. Some examples of assertive language in different scenarios: seeking clarity. To ensure we deliver exactly what you need, could you clarify? If you're managing an overload, we can support this, but what would you like us to deprioritize? When there's a change to scope, this is doable, but here's the impact, so you can decide whether we should do it or not. Accountability. We're waiting on X. Once we've received it, we'll progress immediately. De-escalation. I hear your frustration, but let's focus on what we can control. Goalposts, let's lock this down so we can deliver predictably. We're going to not change those goalposts later on. And the gentle challenge, may I offer an alternative that reduces the risk. So there's some another situation where you need to be assertive, maybe delivering difficult feedback to a stakeholder, could be a member of your team, it could be your boss, various scenarios. So the first of this approach is a very methodical approach in delivering difficult feedback. For the first is the positive statement that you commence with, followed by when you do ABC, the facts, it makes me feel XYZ, the feelings. What I would like you to do is blah, 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 which is the needs, and what do you reckon? Can you try that approach? And that gives the option for the individual to respond with how doable that piece is. If I frame that in a real example, I was often in meetings with my team, and often I'd be a bit ultra critical about things that were going on. And so the positive statement to commence, one of my team members approached me and they said, can I have a chat with you, Andy? I know you're wanting to share information with us, and it's good that you're being transparent, but when you get a bit negative about things, it's a fact I was being very negative and critical, it makes us feel all a bit downbeat and flat. What I would like you to do is reframe those criticisms in a slightly more positive way, so you can see that they are problems that we need to resolve rather than just being critical. That would address the needs. Could I try that approach? Of which I could. So it landed with me in a very direct way that didn't make me feel so hurt, in that, oh, I didn't realize they felt that way. It also helped me to focus on something that I wasn't really tackling in the right way in my delivery and my communication. So some additional tips for conversations: respect and acknowledge, really appreciate your efforts. Set the context. There have been some activities that have caused concern. Be prepared to discuss and be open with there are explanations that might give an alternative perspective. So there could be something you don't know that's impacting an individual that's causing those things to happen. Define the requirements and offer support, but not necessarily control. It's the individuals to deal with. It's not for you to take over and deal with it because it's not working out as you need it to be.